Well, sexual harassment allegations have hit the higher judiciary again. This time, a judge of the Madhya Pradesh High Court has been accused by a woman judge in Gwalior. She's written to the President and the Chief Justice of India, and prominent lawyers today called for quick action, demanding that the High Court judge be impeached.
I am ready for the death sentence if I am found guilty. A day after news broke of an additional judge in Gwalior resigning because she was allegedly sexually harassed by a senior High Court judge in the Madhya Pradesh High Court, the judge accused has written to the Chief Justice of the High Court, saying that he is ready for any probe. The woman has written to the President, the Chief Justice of India and the Law Minister, complaining that when she spurned the High Court judge's advances and his request to dance to an item number at his house, he got vindictive and had her transferred to a remote place in the middle of her daughter's academic session. She had no option but to quit her job under compelling, humiliating and disgraceful circumstances to save her dignity, womanhood and self-esteem.
हमने वही महिला वकीलों ने एक रेजोल्यूशन पास किया जिसमें हमने इस कंडक्ट को पूरी तरह से कंडेम्ड किया.
Chief Justice R.M. Lodha has told NDTV, I will seek a report from the Chief Justice of Madhya Pradesh High Court and take action accordingly. Sources in the Madhya Pradesh High Court though say that the additional judge had herself asked for a transfer, and when that was denied, she quit. The incident comes a year after a shocking revelation by a law intern accusing a former Supreme Court justice of sexual harassment, and similar allegations against another former Supreme Court judge who is heading a tribunal.
Our appeal is to the elected representatives of this country. Mobilize, sign a motion for impeachment, and with effect from tomorrow morning, he should not be assigned any work. And secondly, that her resignation should not be accepted.
While the Supreme Court is yet to finalize a proper structure to take care of such complaints, what's really added to the irony and perhaps the urgency of that particular framework is the fact that this particular lady judge who made the allegations was also in charge of the Vishaka committee, which was set up to look into allegations of sexual misconduct in her region. With Bureau Input, Siddharth Pandey for NDTV.
Well, joining us on the program this evening, senior lawyer Dushyant Dave here in Delhi. In the studios with us is Vrinda Grover. You saw her in the story there. Also, Subramaniam Swamy joins us tonight. Mr. Swamy, I'll get your take on this first, because this is a really serious problem, and we have seen now senior judges and former judges being accused of sexual harassment. And even now, despite those cases coming forward, no real mechanism seems to be in place to deal with them. Now, Vrinda and Indra Jaisingh today demanded that an impeachment process should begin. Do you believe it is too early for that, or that it is something that should be considered?
Well, it's clearly early for that, because I think the Chief Justice should first tender an opinion after receiving his report. In this particular case is different from the one of Justice Ganguly, where the Home Ministry wrote to me to say that since the girl is not pursuing the matter has been dropped. I think here we have to be careful that that kind of thing doesn't happen. If the lady judge I heard is a very brilliant person, and she has given it in writing. Since she has given it in writing, I think there has to be an investigation without doubt. And if the Chief Justice holds indeed that there is substance in it, then the impeachment proceedings should automatically start. Okay,
so Vrinda, is that fair to wait for at least some kind of initial probe to happen before we jump to impeachment?
Impeachment involves a probe to take place. There are two institutional processes, and she has actually approached both those institutions. She's written to the Law Minister also, and she has written to the Chief Justice of India. The impeachment process can be begun through 50 members in the Rajya Sabha or 100 members signing and seeking a motion. That then requires, under the Judges Inquiry Act, for a committee to be set up. That committee would have a judge of the Supreme Court nominated by the Chief Justice of India, a Chief Justice of the High Court, and an eminent jurist. That will conduct an investigation, and in that, the accused, the High Court judge who has been charged with these allegations, he will be given a full opportunity to present. Only after that probe through this mechanism will the matter come back to Parliament, if that committee finds him guilty of these things. The other thing that we have sought is that the Chief Justice of India must institute a permanent mechanism and immediately send this complaint to that committee. This is the gap that has been repeatedly In both the cases of the interns as well as in this case, there is no place to go if there is a complaint against a sitting or former judge of the Supreme Court or of the High Court. This is repeatedly coming before the Supreme Court. Our petition is pending before the Supreme Court seeking a permanent institutional mechanism. Repeatedly, this is coming now before the court. The Chief Justice of India, to my mind, and as many lawyers of the Supreme Court today have said.
Are you saying apart from impeachment, actually, technically, there is really nothing that anyone can do if there is a harassment complaint against a sitting judge?
There is a vacuum in law. There need not be. And that vacuum can only be filled in by the Chief Justice of India.
Mrs. Swami, why not?
They can always initiate the criminal process. If supposing the laws are there for women's modesty and so on, and anybody can initiate that, even if the judge herself doesn't do it. Any of these organizations which are fighting for women's rights, they can do it. I don't think that process will be stopped, but I am only saying that in view of the fact that we have had situations where allegations are made and the judges have been dragged through a great deal of unfavorable publicity, and then in the end the whole thing is dropped after certain political objectives are achieved. In the case of Mr. Ganguly, to get him off the Human Rights Commission of the West Bengal government. After that, everything was dropped, everything was forgotten, nobody pursued it. All those people who were screaming for his blood suddenly disappeared. So that kind of situation
you're making a controversial point. You're saying that these could be politically...
It's also wrong factually. She had filed a complaint before the Chief Justice of India. The Chief Justice of India then constituted a committee. It is entirely up to the woman concerned whether she chooses the path as provided by Vishakha and now by the law on sexual harassment of 2013, or she goes to the police complaint. Repeatedly this misinformation is put out that only a police complaint. I think the woman judge has acted with great dignity. She wants the dignity of the institution to be kept intact. She is therefore appealing to the institutional authorities here.
Okay, so Dushyant Dave, what do you think are the options here? I mean, you have a complaint by a woman judge against a senior judge. She has followed all the due processes here, says Vrinda Grover. I think, to me, worryingly, a year later, we're all sitting and talking about the same thing, which is the lack of a mechanism in the highest courts to deal with this problem.
Nidhi, let me first preface my statement before I come to the question that you have posed me. And that is this, that while we don't know the full details of this matter, whatever little we know, prima facie does suggest that there is a very serious charge here against a sitting High Court judge. And prima facie, I would like to at this stage believe the story of the lady judge. Because I mean, nobody would make a serious complaint like this unless there was element of truth in it. Having said that, let me also say one more thing, that there is something seriously which is ailing the judicial system for a long time. Unfortunately, everything is shoved under the carpet in the judiciary. There is total secrecy about what is happening. Nobody is ever allowed to bring these facts out into. There have been instances where judges have been accused of homosexuality by staff. There have been instances where judges, I know of, as a matter of fact, who have gone to circuit houses on, inspection and demanded that they be supplied with women. There are judges all over the country, the administrative judges, who go to visit the districts on administrative inspection and demand royal red carpet treatment from the poor subordinate judges who have to either beg, borrow or steal and, provide those amenities to the judges. So there is something very serious which is really affecting the judicial system. Nobody wants to discuss it, much less, find some answers to it. Having said that, let me say that Chief Justice of India has ample powers. Once he gets the report, I think he can do a couple of things. One, he can immediately transfer the judge. The collegium they owe a duty to the nation to do that. Two, the Chief Justice of the High Court can immediately withdraw the judicial work from the judge concerned. And three, I think if Chief Justice of the High Court finds prima facie that there is element of truth, because this is like a complaint, any complaint, he must ask the Registrar General of the High Court to file a criminal case against the judge concerned. I don't believe that there is any kind of an immunity in this kind of a serious criminal offense which the judge is alleged to have committed. So I think there is ample mechanism. Impeachment is the last resort, and I don't think impeachment really successfully works in this country because of political considerations. So I think this mechanism is sufficient, and the Chief Justice of India must really do all these things immediately.
Mr. Swami, you wouldn't disagree with that?
No,
He's
I don't
essentially
disagree,
agreeing with
but
your
except
point.
I will say that this malady that we are seeing today of harassing women is not restricted to judges. It's a senior lawyers are doing this, politicians are doing this, journalists are doing this, bureaucrats are doing this. This seems to be, there seems to be some moral fault line that has appeared in our society, where people, highly educated, well placed people whom the society looks up to, are doing these kinds of
Judges
things.
in particular, you hold them to a certain moral standard that you
I
wouldn't.
don't see why you can't hold senior counsels of the legal profession to the same standards, politicians who are ministers to the same standard.
No, of course.
Why the judges should be superhumans and the politicians should not be? I think we need, in fact, a new moral standard where we penalize people who do these kinds
But do
of
you
things.
think that under
Particularly
the current
since women-
mechanism, do you think that under the current mechanisms that are there for whatever those mechanisms are,
Yes.
that they do enough to deal with these
Obviously
issues,
not.
even internally?
Obviously not. But you see, at the same time, I would say that the system should be such that if somebody makes a complaint, that person is obliged to go see it through, and the rest of the people who are supporting her should also see it through. Otherwise, we never know. This could be used as blackmail. This could be used as a way to terrorize people.
I think what we need to be clear here is we are talking about accountability. There is no mechanism, and I'm repeating this, the current Supreme Court regulations cover senior counsels, cover other
Yes.
members of the legal profession, including staff of the Supreme Court, do not cover
Judges.
any sitting judge or former judge of the Supreme Court. There is no mechanism anywhere in the country for any High Court judge. That is what we have been repeatedly seeking. Why is there impunity for this? Because you have no accountability mechanism. Secondly, I would express some concern with what Mr. Dave has said. For the Chief Justice of India to wait for a report from the Chief Justice of the Madhya Pradesh High Court, her complaint, as reported in the media, says she asked for an appointment with the Chief Justice of Madhya Pradesh High Court. It was when that was denied, she was not even given an opportunity by the Chief Justice to meet with her, that she felt she had no option but to resign. I think the Chief Justice of India needs to step in, constitute an independent committee here along the lines of Vishakha, and ask for, not wait for this report. It is not sufficient to transfer this judge. This judge must not be given any work pending this inquiry, and the woman judge's resignation should not be accepted. It has been given under duress because of the hostile circumstances that
But
were
what
created.
about the point Mr. Swami makes? Follow through on the complaint.
Of
Because
course, they are being followed
No, no,
through.
I-
Which complaint has not been followed through?
Yeah,
Please,
Ganguly's complaint has not been followed through.
Can I know?
I have got it in writing that
the
she is
law
not-
provides her with an option to follow a civil remedy, to follow an in-house mechanism, or follow a criminal complaint. Suddenly, we seem to have this faith when it comes to complaints against judges. Otherwise, every day the newspaper, politicians, television channels will tell you how corrupt the police is and how the criminal justice system, including statements made by the Chief Justice of India, is failing everyone. Where the power differential is the highest, we are saying you go to the police. She has approached the appropriate authority. The law gives her the right to choose. Women will choose. They are not going to be compelled that you have to go and establish your dignity only here. This is an institutional responsibility we are talking of.
You see, the question is, we have a system and we got to make it work. And there are people who want to demolish the system, devalue the system.
These are just loose talk.
Come
There's
on,
no fact.
let me complete. I didn't interrupt you, okay? I know you're a Naxalite, so you don't have to interrupt
Swami,
me.
come on.
The issue is this, that no one is asking the lady judge to go and file an FIR. There is, as Dushyant has correctly pointed out, it can be done by almost anybody, including the registrar of the court. So that process has to be there. But we have seen one case of Mr. Ganguly where he was put through hell, and ultimately when the FIR was registered not by the girl, it was registered on the direction of the court, that was not pursued at all. Now today, what is the status of Mr. Ganguly? He has been slandered all through. With this process, we don't want to happen. I am sure that this case, as Dushyant says, there is clear prima facie evidence that something wrong has happened, and we must see to it the end. But we can't have just a roving
Quick last
inquiry.
comments then from Dushyant
The
and Vrinda. Yes,
just
Vrinda
to,
first.
to remind all of us, there was an inquiry conducted by 3 sitting judges of the Supreme Court of India
Who did find prima
into
facie
Justice
evidence
Ganguly's
Prima
the
facie is not,
complaint,
is not
the complaint
conviction.
filed by the intern. So let us not spread falsehood about this.
What
This is a very serious, grave issue we are dealing with. The credibility of the judicial institution, the confidence of the people of India, particularly women, in this institution is what is at stake. So let us not deviate from this for other political reasons and spread these kind of canards. I think the Chief Justice of India needs to step in. I think the elected representatives, members of parliament who are saying that they stand for women's rights, they must take the lead and initiate impeachment proceedings and let an inquiry be conducted as under the Constitution.
Dushyant Ravi, I'll give you the last word. That we have again been talking in the previous cases as well about the credibility of judicial institutions in this country. Isn't that ultimately what is at stake here? I mean, you have a Supreme Court that just can't get its act together when it comes to sexual harassment guidelines that the court itself pronounced so many years ago. So what does that tell us about how serious the higher judiciary is?
Well, absolutely right. There is no doubt that the Supreme Court has singularly failed in ensuring that the Vishakha judgment is followed within the judicial system itself. There is no doubt that there are overwhelmingly good judges in the judicial system. It is this powerful minority of judges who bring discredit to the judicial system all the time. But the fact is that the majority of good and decent judges are not willing to act against them. And that is what is troublesome. It's been happening. I mean, we know all kinds of instances, including the famous Mysore, guest house case, that nothing really has happened in the judicial system over a long period of time against erring judges. I think they try and protect each other because they are afraid that judiciary, if exposed to this kind of, actions, would, its image will suffer. Forgetting completely that its image is suffering much more because they are really not taking action. As both Mr. Swami and Vrinda said, there is complete lack of accountability. There is complete secretive approach that judges have to all these issues. And nobody, something, for example, when Chief Justice Kapadia was Chief Justice of India, his brother judges could not meet him. Now, if this is the kind of a system where we have, this poor woman judge wanted an appointment with the Chief Justice of the High Court. He's a very good man, the Chief Justice of the Madhya Pradesh High Court, yet he failed to meet her. Now, that really shows the mindset of the judicial system that we should try and avoid these kind of problems. Why take them and why try and solve them? Because we don't have the courage to do it. So undoubtedly this is going to seriously damage the image. It is seriously damaged already. If you ask a common man on the street or in the corridors of the court, you will know what exactly they think about the judges. So it is something where we must really do something drastic about it. And I am sure Chief Justice Lodha and his collegium colleagues, who are all outstanding people today, will really swing into action and do something which will really be appreciated by the nation.
All right. Well, I hope that the next time we have to unfortunately talk about this, it would actually be with some concrete mechanism in place to deal with these problems, which we keep talking about now. We've been talking about for more than a year. Thank you very much to all of you for joining us on the show tonight. That's it on the show this evening. We'll see you again tomorrow night at 8. Goodbye.